Miller Race Car Studio, this is the Hammer Down Racing Report. And now your hosts, Scott Hammer and Ron Miller.
Welcome, race fans, to the Hammer Down Racing Report. That has an abrupt ending on that. I don't like that.
You have to soften it up a little, Scott.
I'm going to have to do that. Still working out the all the bugs from this, our virtual Ron Miller Race Car Studios. It's Hammer Down Racing Report for June 4th, 2020, show number 133. And I forgot to turn off the noises on my phone, so I do apologize about that. Coming at you live on Facebook. I hear Wade. He's back there laughing. You don't see him yet, but he's coming. I just turned you down. I'm just going to sit on that. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hammer Report. Follow us on YouTube. You can always check out broadcasts on there. We put this up on there. We share it on Twitter. We put all. I try to do as much as I can. There's just too many social media things. I stayed away from Instagram, and we're not doing TikTok unless Ron wants to. You want to do TikTok?
No. I'm fine with that.
Are you familiar with what that is?
The grandkids are.
I want to see you do some dances or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
You can always check us out on iHeartRadio or whatever your favorite podcasting platform is, iTunes, Google. We're everywhere. Spotify, Spreaker. I get emails from all those. Your alarm's going off, Ron. Tonight on the show, we're going to
check on it.
Tonight on the show, we'll be speaking to former Millstream announcer, and I've heard lots of things about Wade, but I don't know that much about it, so it's going to be a learning experience. Wade Aunger. I just learned how to pronounce his last name, as a matter of fact. I was calling him Aunger. Wade Aunger from Australia. Good morning from Australia, or from here. Good morning to Australia from here. It's evening here in the States. And good morning.
I hope that Wade has a lot of his fans over there, and he's got a huge fan base. He's an amazing announcer and does a lot over there. Sprint cars. I don't know if he's still doing the short track trucks, but he does a lot of very interesting things, and it's going to be a lot of fun to talk to him.
All right, we'll be bringing him in here in just a moment. First, got to pay some bills. Also coming up a little bit later will be the debut for this season of the. Yes, thank you for pointing that out, Ron. The weekend weather pit stop with Ryan Weekman from WTOL Channel 11. So that'll be coming back because there's actually racing this weekend. There was racing last weekend.
I got a little sneak preview of that. That's pretty interesting, Scott.
It's definitely going to be worth sticking around for. And also,
we'll be talking about.
Well, he doesn't know that I'm using that picture, but we'll talk about the racing action from last weekend as well at Oakshade and Sandusky and racing without crowds. Kind of weird stuff. Make sure to give Ron Miller Race Cars a call in Lambertville, Michigan, 734-856-7223. He's got race cars. He's got parts. He's got tires for bombers. You got any specials going on, Ron?
Me? I'm special.
Yeah, okay.
I've been told that I'm special. That's it this week.
That's. I think they mean a different kind of special, Ron. But give him a call. 734-856.
You wouldn't say that.
Race. Thanks to Dean Henry, Big D's Pizza in Clyde, Ohio. Give them a call, 419-547-1444. That number's right there. It just went by. So going over by Ron.
There it goes.
You mentioned the Hammer Down Racing Report, and you'll save 10% off any order. Also, thanks to Oakshade Raceway, just north of Waseon. We're the fastest meet to race every Saturday night, including this past Saturday night. They're going to be back in action this Saturday night with another no fan show, unfortunately, but gates open at 3 for the racers coming out. What else we got? Oh, Kessler Mowing. Give them a call for all your lawn and landscaping needs. Now is the time to get that landscaping done. You know, you got a lot of time around the house, maybe if you're still working from home like I am, not in the office. 419-466-3801. Give Steve a call today. He does a lot more than just landscaping and lawn stuff. He does, well, it's all lawn stuff, but fertilizing, insect and weed control, and more. So give him a call.
And he's a pretty fine racer, too.
Yeah, I think he finished third.
I think he did.
So without further ado, before we get to all of our racing news and our racing roundup for weekend action, we'll bring Wade in right now. Wade Aunger. Almost.
There you go.
I'll get it. All the way from.
You were doing so well, Scott.
I was I was editing video and stuff like a minute before we came on here, so I'm kind of just throwing myself in here. But anyways, Wade Aunger, I know you as the former announcer from Millstream Speedway down in Findlay, Ohio, but I hear your name mentioned all the time. I had a buddy I used to work with at iHeartMedia, Jay Harris. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He talks about you all the time. I guess he and his brother used to race down at Findlay.
Yeah.
But give us a little background of everything you're involved in, what you have been involved in, and what you're currently doing now.
Before you start, you're in Sydney, aren't you?
No. So I'm actually in a place called Mildura, Ron, which is about, I can't even work out in miles. It's about 6 hours drive north of Melbourne. It's about 12 hours drive west of Sydney and about 4 hours south of Adelaide. So it's kind of right in the center. I guess you'd probably say it was like middle central Australia, really. Beautiful part of the world.
There was anything there. I didn't think there was anything in the middle of Australia, but now Wade Aunger's there, so they'll probably be building a major city.
Yeah, no. This city is fantastic. We actually have two dirt tracks. We have a motorcycle speedway and a car speedway as well. It's only a city of about 35,000 people, but the motorsport culture here is phenomenal. So it's a great little part of the world to live in. My four beautiful sons live here with their mum and their brothers and sister as well. And it's a gorgeous part of the world. It's a little chilly here. It's -1, but compared to what you go through, -1 Celsius, not -1 Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So that's just below freezing.
Yeah. And my first experience at Flag City Motorsports Park, as it was called, was a practice day. And I remember it was so cold. It was March or something like that. And Tony Hartung's mum brought out this chili. And I remember I just huddled around it like it was fuel, just trying to stay warm, because I think it was like minus something. I can't remember. It was cold, but I would leave a message on the answering machine at the track. And Ron, you'd remember this. And I would say, you phoned Flag City Motorsports Park, America's newest dirt track action center. And some guy rang up. He goes, hey, man, is that a park or a pack? Have you got any dirt there, or is it just dirt?
Yeah. Now, Wade, it must be, 8 o'clock in the morning where you're at?
It's just gone 9:15 here Friday morning. So as
so you're same time as the East Coast then.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. We're tomorrow already. We're tomorrow morning.
I knew that. So
far in front.
We're talking to the future. This is great.
I knew that it was 7 o'clock in Perth.
Correct.
Okay. I figured being west of Sydney that maybe you would have gained an hour.
No, we're on the same time frame, but there's actually, in the middle of all that, South Australia and Northern Territory are half an hour behind us. So it does gradient across.
Okay.
But, it's about 9:15 here. Beautiful morning, actually. Not a cloud in the sky.
Well, good morning, Wade.
Thank you, mate. Good to see you, Ron.
So how did you get into racing?
So my grandfather would take my father. My papa was a farmer, and he lived about 190 miles from Claremont Speedway, which is my nirvana. It's my field of dreams. And so my papa would drive 191 mile on a Friday to the Speedway, watch the racing, and then drive home, and then get on the tractor that night and keep on working when he got back. And he took my dad, and my dad took me when I was 3, and it pretty well just stuck in my heart from that moment, I'm pretty sure. And my dad was in the armed forces. He worked in the Air Force. So we moved when I was 6 to Victoria, another state, and then we moved to Malaysia for 2 years. And the whole time, my nana, she would fill out all the program results from Claremont Speedway and post them to me all the time. So I still had that connection to Claremont. And we moved to South Australia, and got posted there, and my nana would still keep posting the stuff to me. And we finally got posted back to Perth, back to my home. And I thought, I get to go to Speedway with my papa, 12 years later. And my papa died 2 weeks before the start of the season. So I wrote a letter to the Claremont Speedway and just said, hey, my papa went for 35 years. Could you maybe just put a line in the program, just to tribute his commitment, and wrote a letter about what he used to do. And my dad and I drove in the opening night, and they printed the whole letter in the program. And you can imagine what my dad and my nana were like when they saw that. And that letter stayed on my nana's television till she was in her 90s, alongside a frame of my papa. So that's how I kind of got to know the people at the Speedway. And I asked the boss of the Speedway, could I write some stories? And it went from there.
So how'd you get into the announcing end of things?
Well, my mum always says that my announcing's never changed since I was a little kid announcing Hot Wheels cars on her bed. She just said that my voice got a little deeper. So, and we've all done that as kids. Well, Ron used to play with those like Ben-Hur chariots when he was a kid. That was kind of different.
Actually, I was one of the little kids that played with the plastic cars under the grandstands at the races.
Yeah.
My dad had a push truck.
Wow.
And he would take me to the races with him, drop me off at the front gate. I'd go in, and he'd go back in the pits and push cars. And I was probably 6 years old.
Wow.
Just totally different world back then.
Yeah, that's cool. So
you couldn't drop your kid off now.
Yeah. My boss said to me at the time, he was allowing me to write the articles. He said, do you want to announce? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess I do. And he said, well, you need to go to what we would call a winter track, a country track, and learn. So I spent 6 months just trying to recall what I'd heard from every other announcer over the years. And I just learned. I can't even listen to that stuff back then, Scott. It's like, oh my gosh. I guess it's like it's like, wow, really? And so I just learned my craft there, and I ended up working full time at the Speedway at Claremont a couple of years later. So I really never dreamed that I would work there and do what I was doing, but it became my dream job.
So how'd you end up in Findlay?
So a gentleman named Mike Nelligan, a photographer, he was staying down in Australia for a holiday, and I said to him, are there any tracks in America that might want an announcer from Australia? And he goes, you know what? There's a place called Millstream. They're going to call it Flag City Motorsports Park, and my friends, the Paxtons, are just taking that over, and maybe you can give them a call. And so I got their number. I had nothing to lose, Ron. So I rang up and I got Billy's answering machine, and I left a message. I said, congratulations. You just hired Australia's best announcer. I'll call you back soon and let you know when I'll start. And I was just BSing. Like, there's no way either A, I thought I was the best announcer in Australia, or B, that they would do it. So I left it a week, and I called back, and I think Jamie, Billy's wife, answered the phone, and I was like, she goes, hello? And I was like, oh, hi, my name's Wade. I'm calling from Australia. I remember she went, Billy, that guy from Australia's on the phone. So, Billy came on there, and he's like, hey, man, what's going on? And he said, can you send me a tape? And I posted a VHS cassette of my stuff over videotape, because at the time, Ken Jenkins, a guy from Race Day, TNN, was running some of my stuff. I would post over the videotape, and he would run some stuff. And Billy said, hey, we're interested in talking to you. And we just got talking and cut a deal to come over there and hang out in Findlay, Ohio, in Toledo originally, which is where I met Ron.
I'm sorry for you.
You don't have any tapes of the stuff that we did for a while, do you?
The UPN 47 Flag City Motorsports weekly stuff, you mean, Ron?
Yeah.
No, you know what? I used to.
Oh, good.
Wait a minute. You guys did a TV show?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this.
It was on UPN 47, and they would replay it 3 times a week. It became Findlay's like highest rating show. It was like, what is the goofy Aussie going to do next, with a bit of racing thrown in? It was a lot of fun.
Was
Ron on it all the time, or was it just your show, Wade?
Yeah. No, we had special guests, and whenever we wanted to boost the ratings, Scott, we'd bring Ron in.
Ah, I see. I like to keep my ratings steady, so I have him on all the time.
Yeah. I as you know, Ron, through Billy, that whole opportunity came up. He was the one that took the chance. Mr. P, Billy's dad, he had no idea who I was, and Jamie, Billy's wife, and their beautiful little girls. My gosh, they were such beautiful girls. I imagine that they're all grown up now. And I remember meeting Mr. P, and he was very gruff. He was like, "Oh, so you're from Australia, are you? Okay, what have you done today? Tell me something intelligent, Ozzy." That's what he would pretty well say to me. And I got to cruise around with Billy and meet guys like Todd Newting and hang out at Ron's workshop, and Tony Hartung and Shane Yoder and those kind of guys. And it was just an amazing experience to live over there.
So how many years did you work down in Findlay?
Just one season, just the 6 months. And it was only ever a short-term plan to go over and do some announcing. And I just got more and more involved in it. And, Billy's story was pretty amazing because I think he used to ride factory Yamaha or something like that back in the day, Ron, didn't he? He was an outstanding motocross rider. Yeah,
Billy was a great racer. Roddy Schroyer, the whole Schroyer clan were motorcycle racers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Justin, Billy's brother, raced late models as well. And, Bill Hahn as well. So there was a real late model culture at B&P Wrecking. And I think the coolest thing that we ever did was bring Jeff Gordon back, Ron, if you'd remember that.
I do.
That was where he cut his teeth, racing as a 13-year-old back in the day. So Jeff had just won the Winston Cup. He flew in the Hendrick jet. And he basically, I think we paid him $15,000 US. Or Mr. P did, I didn't. And there was a list of things that he would do, and there was a lot of things he wouldn't. He only signed like 150 autographs or something like that. We had a huge crowd, and Brad Doty was there, and Steve Moorhead, the AMA racer, came out there, and Shane Carson and Brad Doty and a bunch of people. And that was probably one of my real highlights for working there. But Ron, as you'd remember, I brought Kingsley Jones and Kevin Bell over from Australia, from Perth.
I do. I've never fixed so many race cars in my life. Well, the guys were very used to racing in Australia, the super sedans, and in the super sedans, they race the same way we do, except the driver's on the other side of the car. And they were just not real good at judging the width of our late models. They're 5 feet wider than their cars were, and especially Kingsley was really good at trying to knock the wall down.
Our super sedans, they're only 366 cubic inch too, Scott. So we were significantly down on horsepower, and late models really hadn't caught on. This was 96, so late models weren't a thing in Australia. And Kevin Bell in particular had a gorgeous piece, Scott. Like, the thing was always immaculate, And we went across the road from the track to Ken Jenkins at Finley Auto Parts. And Ken had like this fleet of stockers. Like, there was a whole super team there in his shop. And Kevin Bell, I took him over there to meet him, and Shorty Lenz was over there, the guy that used to water the track. And Kevin pulls out this picture of his gorgeous Trans Am, and Ron Jenkins it was. And Ron goes, "Well, that's a nice piece." He goes, "What you running in that?" And Belly goes, "Oh, 366. And Ron goes, "Shit, you ain't even got a stalker." But Kevin was devastated. He's got a $50,000 super sedan there. And Ronnie goes, "Mate, you got nothing. You got a 366, not even a stalker."
No, Belly's still racing, I believe, with his super. He tried late models for a while.
Yeah, right. I don't see Belly very much. I remember him ringing me when he first came over, Ron. He rang me from the plane because I picked him up at Detroit, and he rang me from the plane. I'm like, "Hello," and he goes, "Mate, are you at the airport? Please tell me you're at the airport." And they were still circling, and he goes, "I ain't never seen anything like this." Like, he's from a small town in, I think, like Busselton Way or something like that, in WA. So to fly over Detroit, he was shit scared that I wasn't going to pick him up because he thought, there's no way I'm going to survive in this city. It was like Crocodile Dundee.
So Billy Paxton actually, you must be the reason that I actually started becoming an announcer, because one of our sales guys, I was working in radio at the time in '96, and Paxton had come down to talk about doing some advertising, and I jokingly told the sales guy, I'm like, see if they need an announcer. I had never done any announcing or anything, just thought it'd be cool. And then Billy's like, what are you doing this Sunday? Come on down. And then I was just kind of thrown into it. So thank you for going back to Australia. Now I get to do this stuff. So, and then I ran the track into the ground apparently, since it shut down. And yeah, so I got
how racing goes, Scott.
That's old news, though.
The cool part for me, and I see, because I'm sharing this on my page right now as well, is I got to meet some incredible friends, Ron. That period of my life, I learned so much about just people who are true friends. The Jim Dunham and Tim Fasick, who worked at Bob Hampshire's, because Hamp lives in Finley, and the Strikers lived there as well, Mike and Jim Striker. And, we would just go and play golf on a Sunday, play drunk golf. And it was a really great pressure release. But I learned in Australia, it's very rare that tracks race against each other that are too close. So it would be like an alternate night thing. And Mr. P, he wanted to run Saturday nights. And as you know, Ron, you tried many times not to have that happen too much, because Oakshade would run,
right,
on the same night, and Eldora, and never, it didn't take too long before Earl was seriously PI double fived at us for running on Saturday nights. And so I would make these little cards up, and it would say 2,000 to win, 200 to start. And on Friday night, I would drive to Attica and go in the pits and just hand out these little cards to the sprint car guys, because you had to canvas. You couldn't just rely on them showing up, because in Ohio they had so many other places that they could go. So you had to Butch Schrader and those kind of guys, and Bobby Teeple and the Jacobs boys, when they went on the road, you had to literally say, would you come out and race with us? So I learned a lot about it, about humility and about having to rely on the racer wanting to come to your place.
Now, were you just in the States then for one summer and that was it?
Yeah, 96.
He's been back.
Okay.
Yeah, many times. It's funny because I announced the historical big one in 94 and 95 at Eldora, and Mr. Baltus was amazing to me. He sit up behind you in the announcer's booth in this director's chair, and I would say something like, "Welcome to hell, a heaven's own half mile," and I'd say some funny things about the 50-50 girls, because they were like the dream girls, the 50-50 tickets, and they were, well, Ron, they were healthy, let's just say.
Yeah, they had arthritic hands.
Yeah, and I remember saying they should call it the 38D, not the 50-50. Well, Mr. Baltus calls me over, and I thought, I'm in trouble. And he leans over, he goes, "You make me laugh my ass off." So I got to stay for two historical big ones, 2 years in a row. And I met an amazing announcer named Jerry Hine, who was a wonderful man to work with. And tragically, him and his wife, and I think his sister, and possibly his parents as well, were tragically killed coming back from watching their daughters play their basketball grand final. And he was a wonderful, wonderful man. I was very saddened to hear about that. Anyway, 96, I'm at Finley, and I've gone up to say hello to the announcers in the booth at Eldora. All of a sudden, I wasn't allowed in the booth anymore, because Flag City Motorsports Park was racing on Saturday night. So Earl Baltus was a very, very passionate man. He was a great man to be on the right side of, but he wasn't too thrilled when we ran against him, Ron.
Yeah. Now, what have you been doing since you've been back home? I know you have done the World Series of Sprints for a lot of years. Which is a traveling series, kind of like our Summer Nationals.
Yeah.
And you did the Truck Series for a while, right?
Yeah.
Are you still? Is that still alive?
Well, it's had to take a new form, Ron. A Ute, which is kind of like your El Camino. Was a huge culture down here. Hammer, you need to type into YouTube, V8 Brute Ute series, because you'll get some phenomenal, cool old stuff. And that was a huge thing for a while. I got to announce that pretty well 12 or 13 years, Ron.
Yeah.
They were basically like kind of like your Craftsman Truck Series, but we used to wreck a whole lot more and run a lot of.
Well, I always likened it to like a El Camino combined with roller derby.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, and everybody had a nickname. You know, there was the Growler, and there was the Hunter, and there was, you know, Hollywood Elliott, and so it was very much entertainment based, and it was a real thrill to announce that, and that was where I started to branch out a lot more. So that's the new phase of those things. They've now gone to more like your trucks, Ron. You know, like the Tundra sort of. As you can see, they're sort of more like a. They're not four-wheel drive, but they're that style SUV sort of style truck. But if you can find anything in the early 2000s, Scott, you'll see that the Utes were a lot more low slung. There was a Chevy and a Ford derivative, and it was a very cool series. And it was only then when I moved to Sydney, Ron, that I got to announce drags and boat racing and motocross and even rodeo for a little while and beach volleyball. And so I sort of expanded a lot. A friend of mine, Nathan Prendergast, who was a producer of the TV show I was working on, he said, mate, you've got to call other stuff. And I was like, I just like Speedway, because we call dirt track Speedway. There's just one, as you know, Ron, there's one term for it. And he's like, mate, you've got to try new stuff. I'd love you to work on some other things. And that's where it started. And now I can't even tell you the amount of disciplines that I got to call the Indy cars at the Gold Coast. Got to call a lot of supercar racing as well, and top fuel drags, super bikes, all that sort of stuff, and been very privileged to not really work a day in my life, Ron.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say, what's this Wade's Whirl I see behind you there?
So that's a kind of a bit of a conglomerate of I have a Patreon page, because with the COVID stuff down here, I lost every job that I have in the next 6 months or the foreseeable future since about mid-March. So I started to create my own Patreon page. It's a subscription-based thing where every day I put new videos on, new pieces to camera, new photos. It's about $15 Australian a month or $10 US a month. Plus, I do my photography. I really enjoy my photography these days. And Ron, I've actually started distilling my own moonshine. Believe it or not, I have a brand called Methanol Moonshine, which is going to be launched this Monday, and the bottle is badass, Ron. I can put a late model or a sprint car photo in the bottle itself. It's super cool, and I'm very excited about it. So between this side, Instagram and Facebook and my photography and my Patreon page, I'm just trying to stay busy like you guys.
Do you think you can export some of that?
Yes, sir. That's the plan, Ron.
I would love to be your U.S. agent.
Funny you should say that, Ron. I've got plans. Don't worry about that, mate. I'll be letting you know Monday night my time, 7:30 my time. So I guess what is that? 10 hours, time difference for you right now. Yeah. So if we were doing this now, it's probably not ideal for you time-wise. I think it's like 5:30 in the morning or something. But we'll be launching it, and wait till you see the bottle. I'll send you a video of the bottle in a minute, Ron. You'll be very impressed.
So speaking of the COVID-19 stuff, you're at the end of your racing, or I'm assuming racing season's over down under right now.
It shortened their season.
Yeah, okay. By about 2 months, 3 months. Yeah, we normally race until early May. And then we start again in September. So we actually we dovetail your season, Scott. So that's the way that works pretty well for all of us. Look, we're very lucky, guys. We've had around about 100 deaths in total from COVID. We've certainly had a few thousand cases of it, but Australia shut down our borders very quickly. There's not been much interstate travel, and we had Code 4 regulations here where you could only travel for school or work, essential work, or going to the grocery store and exercise for probably a month, 6 weeks here. And I think that you wouldn't want to be the government in any country, but I think they've done a pretty good job down here.
So I've been watching your country with a lot of interest because it hit here late winter, which was an ideal time for the virus to start spreading, and it hit you in the summer, and they said that heat kind of kills the virus. So I've been watching to see if there's an uptick as your weather cools, or if just being that proactive was a home run for you guys.
Yeah, I think we were pretty lucky as well, as you said, Ron, because the weather was still warm. Like we just come to the summer, autumn. We just started autumn, when it really started to kick in, and it's really odd because you get, you guys in the heat of the season, you get caught up in your own world, and you don't see a lot of world events. And we had the wonderful Doug Clark, the flagman for Knoxville Raceway, organised a tour for Doug and his son Justin and 26 other Americans to come to Australia and come to the Warrnambool Classic during that January period, late January. And my son Liam was on the tour with me, and we're having some drinks, and he said something about coronavirus. Well, I got to be honest with you. I thought he meant a hangover from drinking Mexican beer. I honestly, I thought he was joking because he was drinking a Corona at the time. And anyway, the next day I sort of looked into it. I thought, this is kind of weird. Like I don't think we all thought it was real. I think we thought like, what? Yeah, this will be gone in 2 weeks' time. It'll be a fad that no one remembers. And obviously it's changed the world, hasn't it?
So that shut down the racing season. They didn't try and run anything. Are you still locked down there, or are things opening back up?
Yeah, look, they're starting to release. To be honest, Ron's favourite state and where I'm from, Western Australia, has been the most proactive, I think, out of all of the states. And though people have mixed feelings on that, the border is still not open to Western Australia to the rest. It's almost like they've cut a line up between the WA and the rest of the states, but they've been pretty proactive in keeping the borders shut down. I know that some people think that's a good thing, Ron. Some people don't. Yeah. Queensland's very, very staunch about that as well, and so too is Victoria, the state that I live in. Look, we all just got to do what we got to do, and whether you believe it or not, whether it's as scary or not, we all got to do things the best we can for our families, Ron. It's not about me; it's about my 4 beautiful sons, and I'll do anything I can to be responsible to protect them.
I was talking with Alan Blake, and he was surprised that we could drive. We're living in Michigan now, and he was surprised that we could drive to Ohio or anywhere. There were really no states borders that were closed. Florida had some restrictions for a while, but we could travel pretty freely. And he was explaining that Australia was really shut down.
If there was a Holocaust, Ron, there'd be 2 things that would survive: cockroaches and Alan Blake. that leathery
I hope he's listening.
He'll just be sitting on the beach in Shark Bay right now, either having a coffee or drinking a beer, and he'll survive because he's just one of those classic Aussie guys that seems
I don't know if he can get up to Shark Bay yet.
You haven't been?
No, I say I don't know if he can get up there yet.
Yeah, he's up there.
He said it had been shut down for a while.
Blakey. He finds a crack in the pavement, mate. He's up there. Don't worry about that. It sounds like such a nice place to visit, doesn't it? Shark Bay. What a lovely place.
Clothes optional.
Yeah.
What?
No, don't ask, Scott.
Everywhere
Don't ask.
is optional when Alan's there.
Letting that go. So, do you think that when's your racing season start?
So October 3 is when Valvoline Raceway, Parramatta, that I have been involved in since 2014, and Murray Bridge and Toowoomba. They're the 3 tracks that I work with. First weekend in October right now is the plan. And Parramatta, Ron, is an iconic, Sydney Australian Speedway. It's been for over 40 years, and it's going to be in its final year this year because the government has done a compulsory acquisition of the land
now,
to build a train station.
Has the government stepped up and offered to build a facility?
Yeah,
I had heard that they were going to.
Yeah, they've allocated $40 million for a new project, which, don't get me wrong, is a good thing. We're all terrified that it was just going to be, no Speedway in Sydney, which would be a massive, massive blow to our industry nationally. So the talk is that the venue has been decided. It'll be at the Sydney Motorsport Precinct where the drags is, at the top end of the dragway. And there's a lot of discussion about that, whether it's appropriate or whether it's going to work. And Either way, we just need the sport to continue. It's particularly vital in Sydney because that's a real hub for the industry in Australia.
Well, in Perth, there was all that concern that Quinana was going to work when they closed Claremont. And I was fortunate enough to run one of the last races at Claremont.
Yeah, Claremont was, you know yourself, Ron. That's where I grew up. That's my Eldora. It's my Knoxville. It's the place where it was surrounded by gum trees. Had beautiful party lights. It had like ski lifts. It was a fairground, you know, and it had a magical beauty about it that people just, you know, didn't ever fully understand.
Hi, Steve.
My baby boy just showed up.
Hey, Steve-O. How's it going, Wade? Good to see you, mate.
Wade, what's your opinion of the USA invasion? These guys coming from the USA every year.
Oh, look, that's such an amazing thing for Western Australia. And that's because of the hard work of the Nylanders, you know, and the Blakes and people like that have worked so hard on that. You know, when my first experience with Americans coming in sedans was back in the day when a guy called Big Ed Wilbur and Don Tilford and, you know, people like Jack Hewitt and people like that would come down to Australia and race. And then later in the 90s at Claremont, we had Shane Stewart, Ron, as well as Ronnie Adams came down from Texas. So there's been a history of Americans racing in Australia in the high season, and the Invasion Tour has been, you know, phenomenal. In Sydney, we don't see as many Americans. We had Tyler Erb, thanks to the Pearsons, who do a wonderful job for our sport here. So, you know, it's so important that we have. I just wish we had an Aussie team racing in America like we do vice versa. And Ron, that's what I was trying to do with Belly and Kingsley all those years ago.
We get to see quite a few Aussies at Oakshade.
Yeah,
There was a couple Aussies show up. Yeah.
So Scott.
Yes, sir.
You know how you say Ozzy Osbourne? How do you say Ozzy's first name?
I
just say Ozzy Osbourne for me.
Ozzy.
There you go. So Americans pronounce everything very perfectly. You guys say Aussie. We're just Aussies, mate. Aussie.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's Ozzy Osbourne. I'm surprised if Ron knows who Ozzy is. He's more of a country guy.
More of a Neil Diamond man.
Yeah. I did get the AC/DC, and I'm more of a rock guy myself. So
same. Yes.
Australia's got some good stuff. Now, if you had to choose, do you have a favorite between late models or sprints?
He's a sprint car guy.
Well, you'd be surprised when you say that, Ron. I got associated with sprint cars more because I promoted that national series for 6 years. But to be honest with you, pound for pound, the best racing in the world on a four-wheel basis is midget racing. Speed cars. We call them speed cars. I've always had a massive passion for non-wing sprint car racing in America. And when you go back to the historical big one at Eldora, they used to have a USAC non-wing race on the Wednesday night. That was just, until you've seen non-wing run around Eldora. But to be honest, motorcycle speedway is my thing, guys. Solo motorcycles and sidecars are really my passion as well. So I'm a dirt track oval fan. I don't care what it is. I'll watch it go around and I'll try to announce it. I don't have a favorite, to be honest.
Cool. All right. I got one final question for you. Are you ready for this?
I hope so, Scott.
Did Carol Baskin kill her husband?
Oh, without any doubt.
Okay.
Goddamn Carol Baskin. Isn't that just, you'd have to be devastated. If you were from Oklahoma, you'd have to be going, why? Why did he have to be from Oklahoma? Like, he did for Oklahoma what Forrest Gump did to Alabama, didn't he?
Something like that. Ron, are you familiar? Did you ever watch that?
I never did, but you can't be on the internet.
All right.
Ron,
I wasn't sure. He's a busy guy.
You've got to watch it, mate. It is the most disturbingly enthralling television series. And the ironic part is The Last Dance. Ron, even if you're not a basketball fan, you've got to watch that I urge anyone to watch The Last Dance just purely because of the mental toughness that Michael Jordan brought to everything he did. As an athlete, as a motorsport person, I think you've just got to watch The Last Dance to understand someone who is driven to succeed in everything that he did. Whether you're a Bulls fan or a Jordan fan or not, that is a phenomenal series.
I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but it was pretty interesting. I just haven't had time to keep watching. But
yeah,
cool. Well, we appreciate you giving us some time out of your morning from down there in Australia.
Hey, I really appreciate hanging out, and it's always good to see you, Ron. It's been way too long, mate. Want to say a big hi to everybody in OHIO as well as Michigan as well.
Yeah.
And it's always a pleasure, and sending my love to all the Paxtons and the Hartungs and the Yodas and the Leafs, Rob and Diana Leaf, the Leaf kid, as yeah. Mr. P always used to call him, and the Schraders and the Phasics and the Hampshires, and so many wonderful lifelong friends, Ron, and I count you as absolutely one of them.
What about Yoder?
He said Yoder.
So you know what? I hear from Shane quite a bit these days. He came down and raced for us in Sydney for a couple of years.
We
called him the Flying Hawaiian. And just a real quick funny story. His mum used to tell me this funny story. She's a sweet old lady, and she would always tell me this thing that she liked to tell Shane before he went racing, before every A main. And I thought it was so cool. So we lined up all the cars in Sydney on the main stretch ready to push for the A. And I had Mrs. Yoder up with me in the announcing booth. I said, folks, you got to hear what Mrs. Yoder says to Shane. This is special. Nobody gets to hear this. Normally, she would say this to him in his ear before he goes to race. Well, the crowd's gone quiet. And she's got this microphone, this sweet old little Hawaiian lady. And she goes, Shane, I love you, darling. And everybody goes, oh. She goes, no, kick their ass. Oh, man, good times.
That is awesome.
Jerry's a great lady.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Mr. P was Mr. Yoder was an amazing man. Mr. P was a great character, and I'm just so grateful for the summer of '96, boys. I met the most wonderful people in the world that year.
Mr. P was very intimidating. I didn't want to be on his bad side.
No. He he smoked 1 million cigarettes. The inside of that black Chevy was an interesting experience. He often found interesting things inside that truck. It always had that unusual aroma about it. He was a man that made his living with his bare hands, and I always respected that. And as I said, I'm grateful to Billy and Jamie for the hospitality that they showed me. And man, I bet their kids have grown up into beautiful young ladies, Ron, because they were gorgeous.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful kids. Okay, I know Scott said one last question, but I get one last question too. If Millstream were to reopen, would you come back and announce?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To be honest, I really haven't got back to Finley in such a long time. I would love to just come back to Finley, to be honest. The very first time I ever went to that city, I remember driving down the main street out of town, and they have all those beautiful, I guess they're like elm trees or something, along the, and those incredible old homes. And there was a little girl, like no word of a lie, out the front with a little lemonade stand, and it had like lemonade 5 cents, and the 5 was the wrong way with the line through it. And I thought I'd driven onto the set of a movie. I'm like, this is quintessential Midwestern America, what you see as an Aussie. It was the most beautiful city, and people were so good to me. So I'd love to just get back to Finley, but hell yeah, Ron, I'd love to announce it. Flag City Motorsports Park.
All right.
Park.
I'm gonna write that one. I'm gonna write that one down, Wade.
Cool, mate.
Yeah.
Let's get
wait on. Sure, we'll be back.
There you go. Yep, sure. Thanks for coming on, Wade. We appreciate you. You're welcome to stick around if you want. We got some news to go over and things. I don't know what you got going on.
I got to go to work, but I got to hold up my Ford just for Ron. I got to hold up my Ford, mug. What do you got? Oh, okay.
I got nothing.
Trump's
not cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wow.
All right. Well, we appreciate this. Took a turn there. Wade Aunger, thanks again. It's been a pleasure.
Good to see you, boys. Hey, have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and don't forget methanol moonshine, Ron.
We need to see that bottle.
That one.
We need to see that bottle.
Yeah, Monday night. And I promise you, I'll send you guys a video sneak link, okay? You can have a look, but don't show anyone just yet.
Oh, well, you have to let us know when we can.
Good.
Yeah, you have to let us know when we can show it then.
Will do. Good to see you, boys. Hey.
All right.
Nobody knows about it.
Nobody knows.
All those people over on the side there, forget them.
All right, I'll do it now. See you on Monday.
So confused. Later, Wade.
Thanks, Wade.
Bye, guys.
See you, buddy.
Wade Aunger, once again, I appreciate him coming on. That's pretty cool. Cool stuff there. Don't forget, coming up a little bit later on tonight, we have weekend weather pit stop with Ryan Weekman. Also, how many? And we're going to squeeze all that in probably in the next 15 minutes or so. How's that sound, Ron? Let's get it done.
I mean, if we run over, who's going to shoot us?
I don't know. I got stuff to do. I'm a busy person. So let's start with the action from this past week. Kid? Yeah, I'm okay. Oakshade Raceway was in action with their season opener, and Rusty Schlenk drew. Actually, he won his heat and then drew to start on the pole for the feature, and ended up pretty much dominating that deal. No fans on Saturday night. It was his third win of the season. Not at Oakshade, just his third win overall. I believe he's. I think I read he's going to be at the stream, the dirt late model stream at Eldora this weekend tonight. Actually, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
Rusty Smith swept his heat race and the sportsman feature. Richard Reif won the Bomber A main. Cameron Tusing was our compact feature winner, and Shane Stuckey spun me out on the first lap of the Bomber B main and won that himself.
Now, you are aware that Ricky Reif's car was the same car that won the track championship last year.
Terry Rushlow's car from last year.
Yes, sir.
Last year had a 63 on it. This year it's got a 62 on it.
Yep.
So, no surprise there. What happened to you in the near heat there?
I broke a shock in the heat race.
I didn't get to see the consies. What happened in the consies?
Nothing.
Oh, well, okay then.
The car just wasn't right. The left rear on a dirt late model has two shock absorbers. I didn't have a suitable replacement for the one that broke, and I just went out and made laps.
I didn't have any brakes.
Really?
When I replaced my brake lines, I didn't bleed the lines good enough. I have corrected that since Tuesday night. We got that taken care of, so hopefully that'll help too. Sandusky Speedway was in action with their opener. Originally, they were going to have fans, and then last minute they were told no fans, and they still went ahead and had some racing action. Nevaeh Rasica topped Jaden McCall in the beginner stock. Sam Stout took the win in the Renegades. Michael Varnes took the checkers in the pure stocks, and I didn't have the Midwest Compact Series results from them. World of Outlaw Morton Building Late Model Series action. Brandon Shepard edged out Ricky Thornton by 0.007. Was it? Hundredths, tenth, thousandths, 7,000ths of a second to win Friday night at Davenport Speedway, one of the closest World of Outlaw finishes ever. Race featured 6 official lead changes. Shepard completed the weekend sweep at Davenport by winning on Saturday night as well. Next up for the World of Outlaw late models is Cochran Motor Speedway in Georgia on Friday and Saturday. World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Series was in action. Logan Schuchart extended his World of Outlaw Championship point lead with victory Friday night at Lake Ozark Speedway, leading every lap. Saturday night, also at Lake Ozark Speedway, Donnie Schatz topped Kyle Larson for the win after the two drivers swapped the lead multiple times. The World of Outlaws are in action tomorrow night and Saturday night at Beaver Dam Raceway. The Ollie's Bargain Outlet All-Star Circuit of Champions finally got back underway and actually kicked off their point season. It was the first time they were in action since February, and they were at Park Jefferson International Speedway with two-time defending series champ Aaron Reitzel picking up the win on Friday night. And again, that was the series points opener. Austin McCarl held off Reitzel on Saturday at Park Jefferson for the win. Next up, for the Ollie's Bargain Outlaw Outlet All-Star Circuit of Champions. They got a busy schedule here. Check this out. They have Lawton Speedway in Oklahoma. That's tonight, actually, as a matter of fact. Thursday night, if you're listening to us on iHeartRadio. Red Dirt Raceway in Meeker, Oklahoma, tomorrow night, Friday night. Outlaw Motor Speedway in Octaha, Oklahoma.
Okay.
That's on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, they're at 81 Speedway in Kansas, Park City, Kansas. Then they get a couple days off. Back at it on Wednesday at Devil's Bowl Speedway in Texas. Then back to Oklahoma Thursday at Southern Oklahoma Speedway. And I believe there's a few more races after that, but they're busy.
Ran out.
They're getting things going on there. Chase Elliott won last Thursday's rain-delayed Cup race at Charlotte. He tried to make it 2 wins in a row on Sunday at Bristol, but he got loose under Logano in the closing laps while battling for the lead. Both drivers limped their damaged cars to the finishes. Brad Keselowski was gifted the win. And on Monday night, Noah Gragson doored Justin Allgaier late in the Xfinity Series race and went on to pick up the victory in Xfinity Series action.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep there, but
nap car.
It was a good. It was a good race up until about 20 to go, and that was all my eyes could. That was all my eyes could handle.
I watched most of it. I think it was all right. Next up for the Cup Series is the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. That's on Sunday, 3 o'clock on Fox. Xfinity Series races the Echo Park 250 on Saturday, also Atlanta Speedway. That is also on Fox, and that'll be at 4:30.
Now, those are both Fox Network, not Fox Sports 1.
Fox Broadcast Network, Channel 36 locally here in Toledo. So
very good.
If my source is correct. Most of the time it is. I give it about 90%. I don't remember if I got that from Dave or if I looked that up myself.
Close enough.
Yeah. So Attica Raceway Park is set to open finally tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, with no spectators. Seems to be a common theme. You can check out AtticaRacewayPark.com for details on the restrictions that are in place. Dirt Vision will be streaming, so you will be able to see that. We'll talk about what'll be racing a little bit later on after our weekend weather pit stop. Flat Rock Speedway released a statement on Wednesday announcing they have decided to put the 2020 race season on hold as, quote, "It is not financially feasible for us to conduct racing events until we are permitted to have at least a reasonable percentage of our overall seating capacity in attendance," unquote. Until that time, they will continue with track rentals and give a minimum 2-week notice prior to the first race date when they determine when that is. So
I wonder how many tracks are considering extending their season. Our autumn weather has been pretty decent of late, and wonder if we could do it. Racing well into October.
Maybe we'll have to get Ryan Weekman on and ask him his opinion on that.
Yeah.
Eldora Speedway, as we mentioned earlier, they're hosting the Dirt Late Model Stream Invitational. That's tonight. Actually, was supposed to kick off at 7:20. Was the opening ceremonies this evening, and that goes on through Saturday. No spectators allowed. Over 202,000 in posted awards. Full programs are scheduled for tonight and Friday with 10,000 to win, 30-lap features. Then Saturday will feature a 67-lap feature in honor of Eldora's 67 years of racing, and that pays 50,000 to win. That can be seen on Flow Sports streaming. How come you weren't invited for that, Ron?
I gave Rusty my spot.
Oh, I'm sure he appreciates. I saw he had his wife's panties on his face as his
mask.
Yeah, his PPE. Yes.
And it looked good on him. He wears it well.
He wears his wife's panties very well on his face, yes. Summit Racing Motorsports Park announced the cancellation of the 2020 season. This is it comes as a little bit of a shock after, was it about a month ago? He had said that he is going to be racing. Bader, I can't remember his first name. He made that statement, that big, caused a lot of controversy there when he made that statement, saying they were going to race no matter what, and now they're saying they're not. So I can't say I'm surprised, though. Unfortunate.
by the time they would be allowed to open, they wouldn't have ample time to work with their competitors and sponsors, because everything they do is equivalent to a cup race. And it takes a huge amount of preparation. So I understand where he's coming from.
NASCAR announced that Nashville Super Speedway is going to reopen to host a Cup Series race next season, 2021. That'll be taking one of the 2 race dates at Dover. I believe that track's also owned by the same owner as Dover.
Yep.
And this news actually came out earlier this week. They'd released the updated race schedule from the end of June through August to the teams earlier this week, and then just late this afternoon, probably just a few hours ago, they had officially announced it. And I didn't double check to make sure that it's the same schedule, but I believe it is, that I had printed out here for my notes. We starts off at Pocono on June 27th and the 28th. There's going to be 2 Cup races that weekend, the Trucks and Xfinity Series there as well. Of course, Indianapolis on July 4th, the road course for the Xfinity Series, and I got some more information about Indianapolis here in just a moment. Cup Series on Sunday, July 5th that weekend. Then they're going to be in Kentucky, then to Charlotte, then Texas, then Kansas, and then the last thing on the schedule, and I think this might coincide with the original date, or at least the original weekend, or it's close, is Michigan International Speedway.
Oh,
2 Cup
imagine
races.
it.
Saturday
Late July?
and Sunday, August 8th and 9th.
All right.
So a Cup race on Saturday and a Cup race on Sunday at MIS.
Now, have those all been announced as no fans, or fans as the states allow?
The only one I know for sure is, and I did not put that on. Oh, no, I did. Is Indianapolis Motor Speedway, who announced that the IndyCar and NASCAR events scheduled over the July 4th weekend will be without spectators. They've also canceled the BC 39 USAC midget race because of that fact that there's not going to be any fans.
Sure.
But all those races, the IndyCar and NASCAR switches over to NBC Network. That's all going to be on the NBC networks that weekend. But yeah, no fans. So that'll be weird seeing the Brickyard totally empty.
Oh, it will. The place is always wall to wall.
But I'm not sure about the other NASCAR dates. It didn't say anything about.
They're probably not sure.
Probably.
I didn't know if they had planned ahead or wait and see.
Formula One is set to start their 2020 season. They haven't been racing at all this year yet. They're going to start the first week of July in Australia. The revised schedule keeps the series in Europe. They're going to be racing around the UK. I think Spain was on there. And that goes through September. So if you're an F1 fan, those guys will be racing soon. And that's all the news that I have that is fit. So,
did you have anything on that track in Southern Ohio that had won a court case?
Oh, I did.
And can now have fans in the stands.
Brush Creek, I actually was just reading that before we came on. Brush Creek, you did win that court case. They can have fans. And that reminds me of something else I meant to talk about, that there's a couple other tracks that I have seen are using a loophole. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but they're saying that they're going to be hosting some wedding receptions. And the entertainment at these receptions is going to be some stock car racing. And the first 300 friends that come and donate to help pay for that entertainment, can come in and social distancing, whatever.
Yeah. Well, Brush Creek, their allowance, their fan allowance is much more significant, and I don't know if that court ruling will cover the entire state or just that county. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with the individual health departments.
It'll be interesting to see how.
If I owned a racetrack and it was somewhere else in Ohio, I'd sure be saying, "Hey, look, folks, this is what this court is saying. Do we need to go there? Do we need to visit those same things here?"
I think it'll be interesting to see how the wedding reception idea works out. I don't.
That'll play out okay until.
Okay. Well, Wayne County and the new Moeller Raceway Park, I believe, are the two Ohio tracks that are doing that. And I don't know if they're this weekend or they're coming up. Yeah. So that was the other things, and I know.
I suppose
Sandusky
if you'd
Speedway
like to
was
have your wedding at Oakshade, this weekend, get a hold of the track.
There you go. Probably get a pretty good deal.
And bring 299 of your friends.
I see Chris Mize is on here. Last I had talked to him, I had asked if Sandusky was going to be able to have fans this weekend, and he was going to wait until the press conference today with DeWine, which didn't happen because he canceled that. And I did not get a chance to see their Facebook Live. They did at 6:00. So if Chris is still on here, and if he could let me know in the comments there if Sandusky's going to be running with fans or not this weekend. He was talking about doing
things are so much in flux. Hour by hour, it can change.
You're not kidding. Last week's How Many late models were going to be at Oakshade. And that number was 33. And do you know how many late models I guessed were going to be there? I guess 33. I guess 33.
Really?
I did. I was right on. So
I thought you went one under me, but that's okay.
I think you said 34.
I said 32.
Did you? Then I must have got one over you. Yeah, you did say 32, and I said 33. See, it's all right there.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
This weekend, I got to do our online winner. I don't know where my paperweight went. Okay. So our online winner also guessed the exact amount, Garrett Wiles.
All right.
So get with Big D, or get with Dean Henry over at Big D's Pizza. You got yourself a free Big D's Pizza. If you would like to win a Big D's Pizza, your chance is right now. This week's How Many 410 sprint cars are going to be at Attica tomorrow night.
Oh, boy.
Go ahead and put your comment in the Facebook Live comments. You have until Friday at, we'll say, 5:00 to do that. So if you're not watching us live, you can still get in on that. Just find our Facebook Live broadcast. The video will be up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Hammerdown Racing Report. And while you're there, make sure to like us. And you can put your guess in the comments. Just make sure to go through the comments first, because if somebody guesses the same number you guess, whoever guesses that number first gets the credit for it. So Dean Henry is already in there with 28. So I was kind of waiting for somebody to guess because I really had no idea it's going to be there. John Young says 40. It seems pretty optimistic. What do you think, Ron?
I'm going with 41.
41. I think Craig Mintz wasn't going to be there. There's a couple guys that weren't ready or something.
Uh-huh.
So you're going 41.
Yes, sir.
That seems a lot. Scott Warner's got 42 there. Another optimistic man. I'm going to go 40 then, because that way I got it covered if it's anything less than 41.
Mrs. Miller is here.
Oh, Mrs. Miller. All right. What does she shoot? That could mess up my strategy.
Your strategy?
Yeah.
Mrs. Miller says 29.
All right. That might not be a bad guess.
That's what?
Got Alan Blake on Messenger, live from Shark Bay.
Alan Blake is talking over there?
That's what she says.
All right. Well, how about we bring in Ryan Weekman in our weekend weather pit stop, our first one of the year, because we actually have some racing to talk about this weekend. Should we do that?
Sounds great. I'm waiting for the best.
Those of you that stuck around, here's your treat. I got this picture actually from his Facebook page. So this is the Ryan Weekman weekend weather pit stop.
Here is your weekend weather pit stop forecast. I'm First Alert meteorologist Ryan Weekman. A late
His lips
evening
aren't moving.
thunderstorm not out of the question, but likely staying dry down towards Eldora after passing rain earlier in the day. Attica and Eldora back at the races on Friday. Again, a scattered chance for thunderstorms as highs approach 90 degrees in the afternoon. Race temperatures will be well in the 80s. Saturday, looking at Sandusky, Oakshade, and Eldora, a pleasant setting, much less humid. Highs will be into the 70s or low 80s and nowhere near as humid. For WTOL 11, I'm First Alert meteorologist Ryan Weekman.
Oh, he didn't even talk about the app. He always talks about the app. Must be confused. It's okay. Thanks to
make sure you get the WTOL app on your phone, weather app, and be advised.
It's always good to have. That way you can have the radar, which right now looks. Ooh, it's raining down by Dayton. Wait, it's over.
Ooh,
there.
Not good.
Yeah, we're okay up here in Northwest Ohio. Okay. So anyways, this weekend, we got some racing action to talk about. Of course, mentioned already, Eldora Speedway Dirt Late Model Stream, night number 1's tonight. Should be going on. I haven't seen anybody do any updates. Oh, and before we get to that, Dave mentioned here, Dave Kemmer, Wayne County wedding receptions this weekend, and Moeller is next weekend. The wedding reception races. All right, back to Eldora. Again, that night number 1 going on. That's an invitational for the late models. And what was that on Flow Racing? That's what it was, yeah.
Flow Racing.
That. Attica Raceway Park is in action tomorrow night, as we mentioned. 410 sprints, 305 sprints, and late models. No points for the late models, though, I believe I read. Gates open at 4, racing at 7:45. They do have a rain date of Saturday, and the times for racing would be 7 o'clock for that. No spectators at either at Eldora or Attica. Speaking of Eldora, night number 2 of the Dirt Late Model Stream is Friday night. Opening ceremony scheduled to start at 7:20. Moving ahead to Saturday, Sandusky Speedway back in action with Pure Stocks, Renegades, Beginner Stocks, Weekend Warriors, CRS Truck Series. Pit gates open at 3, racing at 6. And it looks like Chris must have left. The last I knew, they weren't having spectators. So check out Sandusky Speedway's website for more information, or their Facebook page.
That could change.
Yeah. Oakshade Raceway will be hosting another full show, late model sportsman bombers and compacts. No spectators there. They did stream some of the races on the Oakshade Raceway Facebook page. I know actually I did too, and I'm probably not going to be doing that again because it's hard to announce and hold a phone and try and follow the action. And I'm not good at multitasking. I'm not Windows 10. So make sure to follow.
Racing on Dirt has most of the events on YouTube.
Yes, they should have. I think he said he was going to put them all up. I haven't checked, but if you follow his Facebook page, he also puts it up there, Racing on Dirt. And I'm not sure if he's going to be back this weekend or not to film. Again, it's not live, but he does a nice polished product on that. Yeah,
and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. But that's Saturday night, Oakshade, no spectators. Gates open at 3 p.m. for racers going out. And again, all the procedures and restrictions on the Oakshade website, oakshaderaceway.com. Racing starts at 7 o'clock. Pit pass is $30. It's also the final night of the Eldora Speedway Dirt Late Model Stream. That's the $50,000 feature event. Opening ceremonies at 7:20. And again, no spectator. This would be actually one of those deals where you could just be streaming. If you have multiple screens, you could be streaming and watching racing from multiple tracks.
Oh, yeah.
At one. I mean, I guess people could do that while they're at a track and also be streaming action from another track. But yeah, he's got the compact heat number 1 on here. He's got. I'm talking about Racing on Dirt. I think he's got everything. And looking ahead to Saturday, June 13th, Toledo Speedway will be in action with no spectators. You noticing a theme? No spectators.
I wonder if that, and again, I think that court case might spill over into the rest of the state. So before you write off not going to a race at your favorite track, make sure that hasn't changed as we get closer to your race day.
Yeah, again, good reason to follow social media of your favorite racetrack because things change quicker than the website can even be updated sometimes. But Toledo Speedway in action Saturday, June 13th, the ARCA Menard Series East race that was originally scheduled for mid-May. That'll be taking place now mid-June, Saturday, June 13th. The race starts at 6 o'clock, and again, no spectators. I believe there will be TV coverage of that. I'm not sure what that'll be on, if it'll be on like MAV or if it'll be streaming or what. But I guess we can update that for you next weekend or next week's show. So that's it. I've gotten to the end of my prep. I think it's time to go. Oh, Wade sent us the picture. I can't put it on the show though. Oh, that's pretty sweet. All right. Sorry.
Oh. That's right. We can't make that announcement yet.
No, this is Wade. This is Wade, the bottle. The bottle he was going to show.
Well, I know, but his big debut is next Monday. So
gotcha.
Our listeners are going to have to tune in next Thursday so that we can show Wade's product.
There you go. Maybe we'll get it as a sponsor.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. So again, thanks to our sponsors, Ron Miller Race Cars, Big D's Pizza, and Clyde. Again, save 10% off. We're saving you money. Just mention Hammer Down Racing Report.
I see my son Steve mentioned that he may have a couple of pit crew needs for this weekend. If you're a fan and want to see some racing, get a hold of Steve. Same thing with my car and maybe even Scott. If you feel a need for racing,
yeah, but that means whoever comes with me is going to hang out in my pit. So
I get but they have a good view of the racetrack from your pit, Scott.
Yeah, I know they do.
Yeah,
there were
pretty killer.
And I'm bringing Anyways, never mind. Sure, get a hold of me. I totally lost where. Oh, thanks to Oakshade Raceway. Again, that's where we'll be Saturday night. 10 people per car is the limit for the pits at Oakshade Raceway. So if you got some extra room, some fans want to go or something, maybe you can say, hey, join my pit crew.
Get a hold of your favorite racer. See if they need some pit crew. And
I'm sure Oakshade will be happy to have a few more paying people coming in to the pits as well.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking that nobody's making much money off of this without fans, and concessions.
I think the management at Oakshade said that their magic number was 100 cars, and I counted down through all the classes, and we had 99. So
again, they're not making money, but I guess
they are taking care of their fans.
It was enough to justify another weekend of racing coming up this weekend, trying it again. So, and they appreciate everybody, following all the restrictions, all the rules, that it's not the track's rules, it's the health department's rules. And, we don't want to get shut down. Sandusky doesn't want to get shut down. None of these tracks want to get shut down. So keep abiding by them. And hopefully we'll be back next week with another exciting show like they all are.
Not a clue what it'll be, but
no, I was thinking about maybe having Rusty Smith on the show this week because he looked pretty good out there at Oakshade on Saturday night. But maybe we'll have, we'll see how things go at Attica and Oakshade, and maybe we'll bring somebody on from one of those
Eldora.
And Eldora, yeah. Rusty's down there. Rusty put on a pretty good show. We'll see who wins that. Who wins the $50,000? Good luck to him.
That'd make a good weekend.
Yeah. I'd be happy with it. Tune in again next Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Facebook Live will be here, and you can always listen to us again on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google.
Yep. If you weren't punished enough the first time, go back and try again.
And I just my phone's opening up YouTube because I said Google and YouTube.
Oh.
I bet you I could say Okay, Google, play the Hammer Down Racing Report. I don't know if she's smart enough for that.
We need to thank Wade Aunger for coming on tonight, being up so early in the morning, and giving us another good show.
Head, Bowman Auto Group, then our 305, Jason Deach. It's still presented by Jason.
See, it
All
worked.
right.
But,
So there you go. You can use your smart speaker too. Hold on, I got some texts here. Okay, none of these are important. We're good. We can get out of here. See you next Thursday. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and thanks for tuning in, sticking with us. We're doing the best we can. We'll see you next
If you're
week.
a diehard fan, get a hold of your favorite racer and see if they need some pit crew help this weekend.
There you go. See you next week.
Thanks for
You
thanks
have
for
been
Brett
listening
for
to the
having us
Hammer
here.
Down Racing Report from the Ron Miller Race Car Studio. Listen on demand on iHeartRadio.